Welcome to iPaaS Central. I'm Will Tonkin, one of the founding members, and as a flow builder and iPaaS application architect myself, I hope you find value in what we're creating here. iPaaS Central was designed to provide iPaaS training through flow demonstrations, downloadable flows, training guides, and block diagrams. We currently support the iPaaS and conversational AI platforms from one of the best companies for service, reliability, and that really cares about their customers. That company is Team Dynamics. Their products and vision really stand out, and we are proud to work with their amazing platform. Good day, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about creating flow block diagrams. Our story starts back in the old days, or maybe a little more recent, about the time that the abacus went out of use. So when computers were new and programmers were just finding their way, this thing called pseudocode came to be. It was a way for programmers to basically write at a high level, a combination of their spoken language and computer logic. The purpose of this high-level pseudocode was to be able to work out the process and logic. They could then make adjustments before any actual code would be written. Let's take a look at a simple example of this pseudocode. You can see how it makes sense to build out a procedure in a very human, readable way that shows how to accomplish and lay out the steps necessary to complete the task. Today with iPaaS, we have a little bit different way of doing something similar. iPaaS has a toolbox of elements that will allow us to create a visual representation of pseudocode. Not only that, but these graphical elements, once put on the canvas, can be expanded later to fill in the detailed code. So this saves time and effort by allowing us to build our logical structure and then use that same structure to create our final process. So we'll start with these elements that are called blocks. These block elements are basically a container, but they allow you to build and stack inside of each other. They can be nested as well, and you can use other control elements like an if statement or a for each loop or lots of other possible elements. With these tools, we can build out a high-level representation of our process logic.
Let's go ahead and open up iPaaS. So here you can see I have an empty flow. The first element we are going to add is one of the block elements I mentioned. We simply drag it from the toolbox over to the canvas. This block element is simply a container element. It will allow us to organize and group other elements. The beauty of most elements is that we can also add a comment entry, that in addition to housing text comments, it also allows images and other items that help to inform. So we like to put our first block as a description. We're just going to lay out a description of what our process is trying to accomplish. Sometimes we like to include a flowchart or other images that might help describe or clarify our process. You could also include instructions for use as another example. For today, a simple description will do. Determine which technicians are available for ticket assignments. We will accomplish this by looping through each technician in our roster and checking their regular scheduled work hours, as well as their personal time off schedule. We will add those that are available to a list of potential technicians. Finally, we'll return that list of available technicians. So I'm going to drag another block out here. The next block we like to have, we'll name declarations. This block is where we are going to put the variables that we will use throughout the flow. For this high-level process, we only add those items that are necessary to help show our process flow. The way we do that is we go to this data section item here on the toolbox. We want to select a table element and drag it inside of our declaration block. So if you recall what it is we're trying to do here, we're trying to get our technicians out of TDX. So in order to do that, we're going to need a table to hold that information. So there's our technicians table. We're not going to put in any of the details right now because this is just for our high-level flowgram, so we don't need any details at this stage. But in the future, we could simply open this up and then start adding whatever data elements we would need here. So that's our input. Our input's going to be our technicians. So what will be our output? We're going to return a list of all technicians that are available. So we have another element over here in the data category called list. We're going to drag one of those over, and that's going to be called available techs. Again, we don't need to fill in any of the details, so we're just going to leave that as it is. Time to add another block. So what do we need to do? We have a table of technicians, but what did we say we were going to do with them? We were going to query them out of TDX. So the first thing we have to do is retrieve our list of technicians, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and collapse this. We don't need to see any of the details. We don't need to see inside the black box. It's going to retrieve a list of technicians, and it will be stored in the technicians table. So once we have a complete list of our technicians, how are we going to determine for each one if they are on leave or if they're on shift? We need to go to our repeat category, our loops, and we're going to grab one of these elements called a for each. We want for each technician that is in our technicians table. So that means we need to go through these one at a time. So for each one, in this case, for each tech is what we're calling it in the list of technicians. So then what do we do with it? As we get each technician, we need another element or block for us to put a label in here of what we're going to do in this step. Now inside this loop, the first thing we're going to do is check the technician leave schedule. So we'll need to bring in a condition. With these conditions, when we're doing them, our version of pseudocode, this area where the plus is, allows us to actually put in the logic. Because we're not doing any of the details right now, we're just at a high level, we're going to use this one here, which is basically like a comment. We'll state what it is going to do in plain English. So, what is this condition? It's going to be if the technician is not on leave. So if they are not on leave, then we will continue through the process. Because if they're not on leave, it's a possibility that they're available. There is one other check that we needed to do. That is to check if the technician is currently on shift. Okay? So again, we're going to need an if element to do that. Let's drag another one over. This will be if tech is on shift. So then what are we going to do? If the tech is not on leave and the tech is on shift, what did we say we were planning? We were going to add them to a list of available technicians, right? We'll go back in here, grab our last block, and what is the operation that this block is going to have in it? It's going to be to add tech to a list of available technicians. Okay, so just one last thing that we need to do. We have this list, but all we've done here is added the technicians that made it through all these checks, but we need to return something. So what we want to return is this list of available technicians. That's what we said we were going to do. So for the output, we'll need to put our list of available technicians here. That should have accomplished what we set out to do. We're using TDX, and we're going to query all of our technicians. That's what we started with here, retrieving the list. And we're looking at their scheduled leave. We're looking at their regular work schedule to see if they're on shift. And then we're going to add them to the list of available technicians. After we add those technicians that made it through, we're going to return the available technicians. That completes the process.
So that's how you build what we call a flowgram to represent what the process is at a high level. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at support@iPaaScentral.com. We'd be happy to answer your questions. You can also visit our website, again, iPaaScentral.com. And if you're interested in a lot more of this kind of content, you can register and get access to our library. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.